A new temperature record of 25.7 degrees Celsius in June occurred in Hastings on Monday this week. It's a new North Island temperature record for the winter season of June to August, according to the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research, better known as NIWA. To tell us more is NIWA meteorologist Ben Noll. Kia ora, Ben. Thanks for joining us.
Kia ora, thanks for having me.
So what caused these hot temperatures on Monday?
Yeah, so we've got a couple factors that went into the record warmth in Hastings. We had an air mass that tracked down from the Coral Sea, so way up in the tropics near Queensland and New Caledonia, that streamed southward into the North Island. And as that air mass blew across the North Island, we had what is called a firm northwesterly wind develop. And those that live along the east coast of the North Island and the South Island, for that matter, would be familiar with this really warm northwesterly wind that occurs from time to time. And those two, combined with climate change, the long-term warming trend that's making these warmer temperature extremes more likely, kind of came together to produce, a pretty exceptional statistic, because we do keep records that date back well into the 1800s, the 1850s. And when you talk about the warmest temperature for the country as a whole for a month of the year, that's pretty exceptional. So again, Hastings on Monday with the 25.7 degrees.
So it's not just a North Island record, it's also a national record for the warmest temperature in June.
Yeah, for June, it's a national record, but when we look at the winter season as a whole, it's just for the North Island. There actually was a South Island record of above 26 that happened in Cheviot in the month of August. So it was kind of just tipped by that reading in the eastern South Island, but nevertheless, a winter record for the North Island.
Wow. So should Hawke's Bay prepare for a warmer than usual winter?
Yeah, so our latest seasonal outlook suggests that a colder than average winter is pretty unlikely across the country, favoring average to above average temperatures. Look, it's not looking like a record warm winter. We've actually had several of those recently, but nevertheless, I do think that those warmer, mild days probably will outnumber the cooler ones. As we go to July and August, it looks like westerly to northwesterly wind flows are going to be the dominant direction, and those are not cold air flows. They're not southerly flows. So those cold days, they will happen. Of course, it is winter, but probably will be few and far between for the Hawke's Bay region.
And speaking in terms of climate, are there any benefits or disadvantages to a warmer than usual winter?
Look, I mean, the winter season, when it is warm, I mean, I guess that's opportunities for people to get out and do those outdoor activities that they might otherwise not expect to be able to do during the winter season. Of course, farmers, might keep the soil temperatures a little bit more elevated. The soils could use a good recharge. It has been pretty dry through autumn and now into early winter for the region. So we do need the rain, not just the warm temperatures, to kind of set us up for the next growing season. As far as the ski areas go, if you like venturing over to the Central Plateau, the opportunities for snowfall may be on the limited side. So if it does snow and you are a keen skier, take advantage of that opportunity if it does come, because it's probably not going to stick around. So I think that's probably maybe one of the cons is the ski season. The opportunities for good dumps of snow probably will be kind of fairly isolated and sporadic through the season.
Wow. So what does this new record tell us about the current climate over New Zealand?
Oh, look, it continues what we know to be happening, which is a long-term warming trend. Just kind of confirms the direction of travel. And I think, when you think about what may occur in the coming decades, a 25.7 degree reading now, in 10 years from now, that could be 26 or 27. And, we're looking at temperatures that we would expect to occur in summer happening in winter. And that's definitely something that is, a bit, I think, concerning when you start to think about what the generations ahead of us may contend with, and eventually potentially dealing with, say, 30-degree temperatures in winter. That is not, something down the track that would be totally out of the realm of possibility.
Wow. 30 degrees in winter, that is unbelievable. The previous temperature record for the North Island in winter was 25.4 degrees Celsius, and that was also in Hastings in June of 1988. That previous record was only 0.3 degrees lower than the new one. Is this new record something people should be worried about, or is this a bit of a winter anomaly that can happen from time to time?
Oh yeah, look, I mean temperatures in the mid 20s they do happen from time to time in winter, but as we start to move the baseline of our temperatures up and up, it kind of shifts the distribution of temperatures that we expect just a little bit toward favoring conditions that are say in the mid to maybe even upper 20s at times this time of the year. So I would say it's consistent with the trends that we have seen, and that makes it, while it is amazing to set a new national record, it doesn't necessarily surprise us because this is aligned with those expectations in a warmer world. So it was in a sense a one off. We don't see mid 20s, 25, 26 degree temperatures in the near future, but it will happen again. And the chances for those types of conditions are in a warmer climate, they are more likely. So we will revisit this, whether it's next month or next year or in a few years. It's going to happen again, and into the future, it's probably also going to become more likely.
Wow. So has climate change well and truly taken control of the weather reins, and now humanity is but a passenger?
I mean, look. Fortunately, we can still, understand the things that force and drive the weather. I mean, as a meteorologist, I would feel pretty uncomfortable if I didn't know what was driving the weather patterns. So we can look at ocean temperatures, we can look at things like El Nino and La Nina to help us understand kind of the prevailing weather patterns over a week or a season. So I think we're still, we have a good grasp on that. Where climate change kind of comes in is it's starting to, I guess, change the average response of some of those weather patterns. Like with the recent El Nino event, we were kind of anticipating what could be a really, really dry summer for several regions. And I don't think maybe that quite met expectations in some areas. And that's maybe an example of how climate change is maybe influencing the average effect of El Nino events. So it's up to us to continue to research and understand how those climate drivers are going to change in a changing climate, amid a changing climate, an active area of research, but one that's obviously pretty critical as a country that's reliant on the agricultural sector and farmers and the exports and all of that comes feeds back to our economy. It's really, I think, on meteorologists and climate scientists to kind of stay ahead of that curve. We know it is changing, but the how and how quickly is obviously critically important to our livelihoods here in New Zealand.
Absolutely. So, for those of us who aren't researching and are just living in the weather, what can regular households do to help with climate change?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think the average person, there are certainly things that we can all kind of do and contribute. I mean, we look at the emissions as kind of the number one thing. So, whether that's walking or biking a little bit more, every little bit actually can make a difference. That type of stuff, if it's just you're popping up to the corner store and it's a 500-meter walk, rather than jumping in the car, if it's a nice day outside, do the walk. I mean, simple stuff like that does make a cumulative interest difference, but ultimately it's a global issue. So we can all play our parts locally, but it will take kind of a unified effort on an international scale, and I think that's the more challenging bit to kind of address that aspect.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for talking to me today, Ben. Really appreciate it and keep up the good work.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Take care.